But if Edgar Allan Poe walked in the door right now with a typewriter under his arm, I promise you, we wouldn't hire him because he's too slow.
We are living in the biggest reskilling initiative of the world. People with AI will outperform people without AI knowledge.
As a business owner or founder, you want to be able to see all the data in one place to make sure that you are making the correct decision to move the business forward, to generate revenue, to make sure that your ICB is actually intact and you're targeting the right type of person to convert.
When I do reviews of sales reps, I look at opportunities and say, why is this deal in this stage? Plus, you need tools. You need things like battle cards.
We are not AI first, we are AI forward.
Automate wherever it makes sense, but lead humans to humans and leave that personal touch within business.
So what insights can we share from a marketing perspective, from a lead gen relationship perspective when you're attending events? And then you have Victoria here who handles the CRM, and she said the CRM is the truth. Once you get the CRM, you actually have to hand it off to a salesperson to sell, right? And do they have the information to sell? So that's the reason for the sequence, and we want to get that story across so you can build your playbook for the year.
When you think about lead generation, it's really like defining who you are solving for. How you differentiate is by niching out into one category that you can master.
Sales fundamentally has not changed. It's still relationship based. How you get there and create process tools significantly changed. You can do that much quicker now, and you have more data to do that with. Use those as you see fit, from relationships to relationships, and keep it that way.
The guy that was deploying Mythos from Anthropic the other day, and it didn't have any internet access, and he was sitting out to lunch eating a sandwich, and his agent emailed him saying,
All right, everybody. Welcome to the AI Space podcast. AI is not just the future. It's a force rewriting the rules of business, wealth, and creation in society. If you're a founder, innovator, or technologist that's shaping the future, this is a show for you. The question you have to ask yourself is, will I blaze a path, follow others, or be left behind? So we have an amazing panel. Introduce yourself and tell us what you're focused on in 2026.
My name is Tori Begg. I head AI for a national marketing agency, doing everything from training and enablement to strategy and roadmaps, all the way to a tech PM, building custom large language models and agents to build up everything from client-facing to internal-facing. And then I wrap it all in a big bow and deliver it to the C-suite to prove business value and ROI. I'm also the co-founder of Mind and Machine. That's why I talked on that subject, and do national speaking engagements on AI and delivering that value to SMBs. What I'm focused on in 2026 is making sure that we stay grounded within the hype and making sure that we all hold the responsibility of keeping AI human first, AI forward, so that we keep an environment that's driving in the right direction instead of the wrong direction.
I am the CEO of a IT services company, but we have this weird thing. We incubate a startup within our company, and then that's the agentic AI networking product that I was talking about. So I spent 20 years in technology, last 10 years in sales, and 3 years as an entrepreneur building this. So excited to be here. 2026 for us is really proving if that baby can have some legs. So we're testing the market. We're taking it to events, conferences, and whatnot. So very focused on user acquisition, activation, and trying to see what kind of our funnel looks like and so forth. I can talk more about that. But really just bringing an AI product to the market. And maybe a lot of you are trying to do that. So happy to share some of the lessons learned along the way.
I help businesses to get their CRMs in check. Along the way, because the CRM is the part of the business, I get involved in a lot of operations. I see accounting, I see a lot of things, and I help business owners, founders, mostly focused on tech, get the house in order.
Tim Mata here. I have a few things I do actually. So one of them is my personal consulting business, Calvary Sales Partners. I help organizations grow and get to the next level of sales success for the most part. So companies stuck at 10, 20, 25, want to get to 30, 35, 40. I do that through sales process for the most part, implementing repeatable sales process. So I work on that. Also co-founder of Mind and Machine as well, trying to grow that organization, expand, help the community, and share AI knowledge across the small and medium business market. Additionally, I'm with Texas Advisory Services as well. We're looking to help organizations establish and grow within the Texas community for the most part. So
Thanks, everybody. So there is a little bit of a method to my madness, or a madness to my method. So when we started this, I said, if you, as Stefan was saying too, it's the end of Q1. If you haven't set up your sales and marketing for the year, you're probably not going to hit your numbers. So what insights can we share from a marketing perspective, from a lead gen relationship perspective when you're attending events? How do you get that into the CRM? And then you have Victoria here who handles the CRM, and she said the CRM is the true health of your business in a sense, right? And so, and also the go-to-market. Then once you get the CRM, you actually have to hand it off to a salesperson to sell, right? And do they have the information to sell? So that's the reason for the sequence, and we want to get that story across so you can build your playbook for the year. I'll start with you, Tori. What are the key trends that you're seeing that's affecting your business right now?
Man, so I'm in the marketing, advertising, and sales business. So what isn't a key trend right now, Sanjay, right? The way that we use the internet, the way that we search, and the way that we're gathering and looking for information is innately changing. And as a leader in AI in the marketing, advertising, and sales industry, I need to pivot every single day. And that's from making strategies on how we're gonna show up and how our clients are going to show up when people are looking for information in different spots on the internet. It used to be a Google search. Now it's not even just a Google search. It is a Google search, it's a ChatGPT search, it's a Claude search, it's a Perplexity search, it's a web browser that's run by one of those on the sidebar of your search. So we see changes every single step of the journey of a user trying to find any type of business. Besides just that, we're also seeing trends change within the sales side of things. So the process and the workflow on how our sales reps, our CSMs, our fulfillment team, our managers, and everybody in between is changing as well. I always say that we are a national marketing agency, but we own a paper here in DFW called the Dallas Observer. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. It's been around for about 50 years. But if Edgar Allan Poe walked in the door right now with a typewriter under his arm, I promise you, we wouldn't hire him because he's too slow. We have so many ways to do things better that if the best person walks in with the greatest capabilities, if they're not using AI, they're not relevant and valuable. So we need to change processes, SOPs, and the product that we're delivering, and even new deliverables. How do we give a product that's AEO? How do we create an agent that's a fractional CMO that can deliver that from somebody that doesn't need to hire an agency anymore? The entire spectrum from everything I do is shifted. And Sanjay, I could sit here and talk to you for the next hour on what's shifted, but I think that gives a
We'll give it to Abdel.
general
Yeah.
aspect of how I see things are shifting in the world of AI.
Right.
I mean, if you feel energy coming out of me, you know where it's coming from. I can just, I just get inspired, get the energy out of Tori here, and there you go.
yeah.
I mean, for me, I just want to piggyback on what Tori said. There's a lot of changes on the how, like a lot of changes on the tool set, a lot of changes on just how you get leads and how you get to just go from that sales cycle, from discovery into close. But the fundamentals, I think that's going to be a key point for me today, is that the fundamentals of sales are going to be the same. They are the same. From just defining who you want to sell to how do you bring value to those people beforehand, to how you continue to nurture them through the cycle, to how you close them, you retain them, they became your biggest advocate. That's always going to be the same. But the tools now and the speed how you can get to that cycle is what's changing, right? So for us, like in our company, we are implementing those tools, even if we don't understand what they are. Like we were thinking about a CRM. We went to the CRM. Victoria will talk more about that. But we have a CRM, but we also have some agentic tools that help us with our outreach, with our marketing, and so forth. And this is how we learn. So there's a lot out there, but you have to try it to learn because you just get confused with the messaging coming out of all those vendors. Pick one, try it, and see how it works for you. If nothing, you will learn from that experience and pick the better tool the next time.
Key trends that I see while managing HubSpot is that there's a lack of process, a lot of messy data, and customers and businesses that I come across, many of them manage their CRM within spreadsheet. Multiple reps have their own systems and processes, rep by rep by rep. There's missing SOPs, how the process work once you get the client in or potential prospect, right? Things are not as streamlined, and a lot of sales are being missed just because there's not a proper system in place. As far as what's next with HubSpot, there's a lot of AI integrations, there's a lot of updates within HubSpot that has evolved. HubSpot is not the same that it used to be 2 years ago, 3 years ago. There's definitely a lot of new updates in the infrastructure as such.
So key trends for you with sales are really about, Abel said, sales hasn't changed. Relationships still relationships. But how you go through your sales process and learn about that has changed. So utilizing tools to change your sales process or understand what questions you should be asking, understand the objections you might get from your potential customers, can all be projected in AI for the most part. So I'd recommend that you record your phone
If y'all
calls,
can't hear, go
put
ahead
that
and
in
move
AI,
up.
start
Some people
asking
haven't
questions.
Go ahead and move up.
How can I do better discovery? How can I get better answer objections better? What questions would a customer ask me about my sales process,
If they can't hear,
basically,
they
or
can
my
go ahead and
product?
move up to even to the
That's
VIP
how you can get
section.
better in sales overall, whether you're
People
a
have
founder doing sales yourself or you have a sales team right now. Those are quick and easy ways to improve your sales process today.
All right, so Tim, you're a salesperson, right? And you're a fractional.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah, that's what you're told. So I'm sure people say, hey, Tim, I need you to come on board and just sell. So I'm sure that's not exactly what you want to hear. So what do you need upstream from, so the CRM, which is a customer relationship management platform, from lead generation, from marketing, for a salesperson to be successful, what do you need upstream?
You need structure. They need a process. When they start a deal, they need to know what stage it needs to be in, what requirements they need to get to each stage, entry, exit criteria, and stuff like that. That always needs to be predefined up front, and you do that in the CRM. Obviously, that's great. So when I do reviews of sales reps, I look at opportunities and say, why is this deal in this stage? What has happened with the customer to date to make sure this deal is real in this stage, basically? Has it qualified? Has it met the right criteria to move forward? Is it qualified? So that's really what it comes down to. Plus, you need tools. You need things like battle cards, competitors, sheets to handle your competitors out there. So there are tools you need. You can't just put. I get that question a lot. Like, you hired a salesperson and they failed. Well, what did you give them? What help did you provide? What process did you give them? What tools do they have? They're humans like anybody else, and they need structure.
So those tools can be augmented with AI, and somebody that teaches 70 to 100 sales reps across the nation. Tim mentioned battle cards. How do you create a custom GPT, a gem, an agent that knows how to create battle cards off the key? So if you're in a sales meeting, Tim, and someone says, Bird Eye. Well, Bird Eye is trying to sell me local SEO, and now you're coming in and selling me local SEO. What's the difference? Instead of a sales rep coming in and being an introductory, they just started working for your company, they don't know about Bird Eye and your company, you need to be able to go in and create that battle card and have that rebuttal immediately. So how do you create a tool that they can then use to have in their pocket instead of a manual tool to put in Bird Eye? We have a custom GPT where our sales reps can go in, put Bird Eye in, and it in 3 seconds creates a full system battle card about the difference between our local SEO and Bird Eye's at local SEO, because it has all of our deliverables, everything that we do, and then does a quick research across the web, gives you a battle card. Now, every single sales rep that you have is an experienced sales rep that can rebuttal any competitor and have that at their fingertips during the meeting, instead of having to wait and say, no, we're just better. No, you have the keys, you have the tools, and you have the knowledge at your fingertips to be able to have that battle card at your fingertips really quickly on meeting, which is a sales superpower.
You don't want salespeople that tell you, let me get back to you in a week. You can have the information right there.
The big thing that I've seen, a lack of assigning the contacts to the right sales rep, and a lot of sales reps are contacting the same person who potentially already said, like, hey, I'm not interested. Why are you borderline harassing me at this point? Like, you're the fourth one who is reaching out to me. And it's really, at the end of the day, about processes and proper assigning, either sales, either marketing, and really tracking that customer journey within CRM.
So the next thing is, I think what's important is the AI tech stack. So in terms of AI, there's a lot of tools you can use. So, there's LLMs, which are the large language models, your ChatGPTs, your Claudes, etc. They can do a lot of things in terms of, you can ask them questions, they give you responses. You can use different tools like image generation, video generation. You talked about SEO, which is search engine optimization. Now there's GEO, which is a generative engine optimization, AEO, which is the AI engine optimization. Are you being able to be found? There's agentic AI, there's automations. There's a lot of different things that's happening right now. But in your case, from a marketing perspective, what is kind of your go-to stack that you're kind of using in the business right now?
There is no go-to stack because it depends on what you're already utilizing. Don't switch. There's no point in switching your entire process and system just because there's something else out there. Start native. Personally, we're a Google native company, so we use GChat, we use Google Workspace, which has the native Gemini within it. We use Gemini Advanced, which is Gemini's large language model. And then we use Vertex AI through Gemini Enterprise as well, which is where we build our more complex large language models. But besides that, I don't like to give governance to people that are trying to experiment. I like to give allowances because we agree as a whole that one large language model is better than another large language model. And as long as the baseline, we're teaching safety and autonomy on how to use it while anonymizing data and sensitive company and or client information, I feel like we're getting a good ground layer to be able to allow them to use anything. So what our stack looks like right now is we're Gemini shop. I encourage everybody to use Gemini because it integrates seamlessly and free across our entire ecosystem, and we've created agents within that, and Google Workspace is awesome. But I created a large language model that's an internal knowledge base called Max. Full government name is Maximize Knowledge. And that's built off the ChatGPT API. We're also using Claude Code to build some of our code. We're also using the Clawbot to set up and systemize automations. So I'd say my stack doesn't matter to your business. It's whatever's native to your business is to build upon, because if you start looking for a new tool, you'll find a new one every single day. Stay grounded, don't hop around, find something that works. If you see something else starts beating out what you're using, I don't know, wait 10 days. Your system will probably be at the same level anyway. Find something that works, find an output that you like, and build off of that and stick to it, stay grounded.
The tool is an afterthought. It should be an afterthought. Before you get to the tool, you need to nail down the system. Every business is different. The way you generate leads, whether you bring them to you or you go out and find them, it will dictate what's your system that's going to work for you, and therefore the tools that will work for you. there's some truths that are always needed. So you need some sort of a system of record. You need some sort of CRM or contact database or spreadsheet or Google Sheets. Like, I don't care. You have to have some sort of repository where you have that source of truth of your clients or prospects. But on top of that, you can layer so many other tools. You can sales outreach. You can do, like, if you go into events, that's why we have a product for the event space. That's a lead generation product. So we use our own product for that. So to me, nail down the system, nail down how you find, discover, and then convert leads into clients. And once you nail down the system, you apply the tools to that. And to Tori's point, I mean, you can build the tool that works only for you or for your business. You don't need to go to like a generic tool, the one size for all that's been built for so many other businesses out there. So start with the system and pick the stack from there.
As far as systems, I see a lot of mismatch within founders. They would say we need a whole new software because this one is not really working. Well, but are you really utilizing it? Is it properly implemented? Is it properly integrated? Is it synced? Well, if not, then when was the last time when you checked on it? Along the way, who is in charge to make sure? Like, well, we have this rep, that rep, but at the same time, nobody's really looking at anything because there's no one in charge who will be constantly updating and making sure that everything is in sync. Now, of course, we can switch the software and the tools, but the problem is not really the software itself. It's really the use of the software and the implementation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the most important thing about tools from a sales perspective, quality of your data. What are you putting into your CRM? What are you capturing? What are you training your reps to capture? What are you holding them accountable for? So if there's no data in your CRM, it's gonna be real hard to do some search in there, right? If it's not clean, if there isn't enough descriptions of what happened, if there isn't close loss, categories, if there isn't things around, what was captured during calls, for example, discovery to quoting and all of this stuff, that's not in there, you can't do anything, right? So you have no information. So it's really about training your reps on the systems you have to make sure that data's in there, because otherwise you don't have anything.
No, I think those are very valuable insights. You're coming from a very user perspective, data perspective, and results perspective. And like you said, there's no one tool or tools that are going to be the one size fits all or going to solve everything. Because I've tried all the ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, but what I want is something that actually gives me results and actually tells me the truth. I mean, how many people in here have put something into your ChatGPT and you got a result and it didn't make sense and you told it, "Are you lying to me?" He goes, "Yes." And so I've had it where I've asked it. It gives me a result. I said, I put my metrics in, I put my transcript in, and it produces something. I said, this doesn't make sense. And it said, give me the actual line or give me the actual metric. I can't produce it. So did you make this up? Did you lie? Yes. So these things hallucinate, which means that they make up answers. If you don't know, for those that don't know, these are just predicting the next word in a sequence. It's a probability basis. It's not deterministic. That's why when you type something into ChatGPT or these things, a different result comes out. And one thing, Abdel, I think that's interesting, if you can tell a little bit about, you're not a true techie in the sense of deep technologist. I mean, you're a technical person, but tell us how you actually built the app in terms of React and some of the other types of things.
Yeah, sure. And this is where, I mean, let's face it, guys, this is an unprecedented time of technology that we live in. We should be very, very fortunate to be alive in this time. I mean, the first time I used ChatGPT in 2023, I was shocked. I was like, is somebody having cameras? Is somebody getting my data? Like, who's behind the computer? Somebody knows me. And it was at that time, it was like floppy, like it didn't know how many R's in strawberry and all of that.
Still doesn't.
It still probably doesn't. So, but what I saw at that time is, okay, well, what can you do with all this? And then I started tinkering around. I'm an engineer by trade, so I just started playing with it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me learn this thing. And as everybody who wants to learn something, you go read upon it, you go watch videos about like, oh, I'm bored to death. I can't do that. So well, how can I learn this thing? And I'm like, okay, well, let me build something. Let me pick one of the problems that I have every day and then just try to solve it with this thing. That's where I started the journey. Like I have zero software background. Zero line of code. I've never coded anything, like nothing. I hated my coding class in college, but I was like, okay, well, let me try that. I started playing with those tools, coding things, and just talking to it in English. And sure enough, I'm like, oh wow, I could. Like I used to go to these events and come back with a stack of business cards, and I had to put them in the system so I can follow up with them next day. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, why do I have to deal with all that? So I built I think a GPT at that time to like one picture and takes like 10 business cards and then automatically follow up with all these people with zero knowledge in coding. And I'm like, oh my God, I could do that. Wow. And I got like just more confident. I'm like, okay, what's the next things? Can I just email them twice, or can I do this or do that? And I started like getting myself into like a coder's hat and built more stuff until I realized that there's a ceiling. Like you get to a point where you're happy with your product and it doesn't work. Or like the users will tell you, oh my God, like why can I see John's birthday like in the app? Because no knowledge about security, no knowledge about governance, no knowledge about any of the software development principles. And that's where you find the co-founder, right? So that's where you get somebody from Silicon Valley with like years of experience in software. And I'm like, help me make this app better. And now you guys gotta check it out. So that app that does the whole thing, it started with me with zero line of code and somebody coming to rescue me 6 months after that.
From a marketing perspective, sales and marketing is important. Maybe what's the critical insight that you have from a business and a technology perspective that you can give the audience, Tori?
We have the opportunity to close every gap that is there. We have the opportunity to understand pain points. We have the opportunity to understand where we're failing. We have the opportunity to understand where we're succeeding and to mimic that across an organization. Take that opportunity and kind of going off what Abdel just said, if you can think it in your head, you can do it with generative AI. Specifically in the last 3 months with what has been implemented and developed with Claude specifically, but everybody else is coming out with it very soon. But if you say, hey, I have a huge chasm between my lowest salesperson and my highest salesperson. I am a business owner and I'm just trying to figure out how to close that gap. Ask Claude and then say, how can I close that gap? What can I do? Maybe Claude will come back and be like, great, give me the last 10 transcripts of your best sales rep and put them into me. I'll pull out exactly what they do. And then it comes back and say, oh, your top 10 sales rep they're asking for the sale and your bottom 10 sales reps aren't asking for the sale. And you say, great, how can I get my sales reps to ask for the sale more often? Okay, I want to make a game. I have a bunch of 25-year-olds at my company. How do I gamify this and make sure that they get the reps in so that every time they get on a real sales call, they're asking for the sale? So we're closing gaps, and we're able to close those gaps just by natural language to somebody that doesn't know how to code. You're using your knowledge, you're using your critical thinking to talk into these things, understand gaps, triangulate pain points, bring them all together, and then create a solution. I don't know I didn't know what I was doing either. I couldn't give you a code if you spotted me the 0 and the 1. I created an entire organization that's closed gaps, equalized sales reps, equalized CSMs, because I asked and kept asking. Be curious, keep your strategic thinking, and build that so that you can create solutions that actually work, stick, and resonate with every single person that you work with, even if that person that you work with is only yourself.
Abdel, from a lead gen business and technology insight that's critical.
Yeah, I think when you think about lead generation, like from a business standpoint, it's really like defining who you are solving for. And it's not like, hey, my product is for like mid-income families that live in the suburbs or whatever. Like you have to really, really be specific and force yourself, because it's uncomfortable conversation that you have to get to down to really defining who you're selling to. And then when you find that, then you essentially go and test that hypothesis, because you like at that point you're just putting some assumptions that this is your product, it's solving these pain points for this ICP. For you have to go and test it, because that's the only true feedback. You can ask your friends, you can ask your family, and I'm talking about a startup perspective. This is a startup, like you're building a new product that no one heard of, you don't have brand recognition, you don't know nothing, nobody knows you, and you want to get it off the ground. It could be a service too, like if you're lined up with other service people, you want to make sure you're differentiated, and how you differentiate is by niching out into one category that you can master. You don't have to be the best at all the kind of criteria, but one, pick one, and then just go very, very deep on that. So again, to me, insight is knowing who you're selling to. From a technical perspective, I think technology always follows. So if you nail down the business, then the technology can follow after.
Yeah, no, I think identifying your ideal customer profile, who you're exactly targeting, what pain point you're solving for who, why, and how you're solving it for them in a meaningful way. At the end of the day, if they're not willing to pay you on a continuous basis, you're probably doing a science fair project. And the last thing any of us want to do is have a science fair project and not to be able to generate money. So from a CRM perspective, Victoria, what do you see as the key business and technical insights going forward?
It's really about orchestrating all the data in harmonious song. As a business owner and founder, you want to be able to see all the data in one place to make sure that you're making the correct decision to move the business forward, to generate revenue, to make sure that your ICP is actually intact and you're targeting the right type of person to convert. Now, of course, there's additional aspects as far as marketing, social media, email marketing, to make sure the copy, maybe some of your ICP doesn't like certain colors. And again, that goes into psychology and colors and wording. And it's, on a surface level, it looks super duper easy, but at the same time, it's much deeper than that, and it requires more thought to it.
Yeah, so I think everyone here is supporting sales in some way. Tori's providing tools to help sales reps do their job. Abdel here is talking about providing your ICP, which is correct, and then we have your systems and that your reps are going to use every day for the most part. That's a structure and a process for your reps to follow. You don't have that, if you don't provide that to a sales team or yourselves, if you're selling yourselves, it's going to be very difficult to be successful there. Make sure you have those processes in place. And you have the AI tools to do it. All you gotta do is ask the questions, like what do you need? Make sure you develop a sales process. Use the tools given to you, provide some support, and understand what you're selling.
Tim, that's exactly right. And processes in my head translates to workflows, and a lot of our information is held up in our head. And I talk to all departments across the entire nation within my company, and I'll be like, well, how do you do that? And they'll be like, well, I teach people because I have it up here. That doesn't matter when it comes to AI. If it's not written down, if it's not in text form, it doesn't matter. And if you don't know how to do it, open up your large language model of choice, put on the text-to-speech, and speak out that process, because the number one thing, if you don't know how to start building the tools, getting the CRM integration, finding your ICP, or actually selling, if you don't have the workflow in data, you won't be able to solve it using AI. So get the process down. If it's in here, voice to text it down so that you have that data to be able to put into your large language model. So then you can start finding the pain points, and then you can start implementing where AI fits to make efficiency.
That's a very important insight, because a lot of these large language models are based on general data, the internet, Wikipedia. So if you have a very customized business in terms of real estate or a chemical processing plant or other types of things. These are not trained on that. And you have very specific knowledge, and there's something called small language models that may be a little bit more specialized. But those are things you have to really think about. These are generic. Just like she said, it's not going to whip it out of thin air. If it hasn't been trained on it, it's not going to produce it for you. And just some quick updates in terms of, I'm using the full stack in a sense. This was a turnkey solution, the podcast that I have on YouTube. It's been a year now. It's approaching 4 million views. We've had different executives, etc. It was a turnkey service, but I said, hey, I'm a consultant, and it wasn't growing as fast. So I pulled a lot of things in. I started doing thumbnail design. I'm not a CMO. Thumbnail design, SEO, now AEO, GEO, doing automations. I'll even sometimes create my own animations. And these are things I'm learning on my own. In terms of the AEO part, I said, I don't have time to do all this stuff because I'm a solopreneur. I went to Claude Code and said, hey, help me figure out this AEO thing. It says, okay, get your transcript. So I went to the Riverside app, gave it my edited video, it generated a transcript and an audio file. I put the transcript in Claude. I said, create an article for me. It gave me all the steps, gave a beautifully rendered article. Of course, I did a QA process on it. It showed me how to put all the buttons on there, like listen on Spotify. They actually had an FAQ section, so your articles have to have an FAQ section to be crawlable. Then it put the full transcript, because these things are reading the transcripts, because it's looking for something called EEAT, experience, expertise, authenticity, and trust. And if you don't have that, some people in SEO world, they can just say big data and your company will show up. But now if you don't have that written down and they don't trust you, you're not going to pop up. The last thing I did was I need to get on my website. And I have a Hostinger site that's a web builder. And I said, I don't want to copy and paste. I don't have time to do this. I said, give me another option, Claude. And it actually generated HTML code, JSON, all this cool stuff. And it says, all you gotta do now is copy this code and embed it into the site. And the first time I did it took me 3 hours. Now it takes me 5 to 15 minutes to do that whole process. And so there's too much to learn out there. So my recommendation is what I call AI snacking. Go apply an AI tool or something for 15 minutes, an hour, 3 hours into your business and generate a business outcome. And that will give you better results. So I'd like to round out the podcast and the questions too about ethical and responsible AI. I know a lot of people don't talk about this, but how do we build out AI in an ethical and responsible way? Can we really? And what are your thoughts?
We sure can, and it's our responsibility as everybody in this room to understand what that means. And as the co-founder of Mind and Machine, we named it that for a reason. And I am very intentional in the rhetoric that I use to train and teach the 400 plus revolving employees at my company. We are not AI first, we are AI forward. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot of these companies that say, we are AI first. Klarna, Duolingo, even AWS has come out with these statements where AI first, if you can't do it with AI, take a hike. That's not what we should be thinking about when we're thinking about responsible AI adoption. It's our responsibility as these people in the room to know that we are human first, because we are Earth that is based off of and lived off of humans. And if we lose the function and the trajectory that we are humans first and AI forward, I think we've lost the plot. So we need to change our rhetoric. We need to be intentional on the way that we're talking about AI. I know 70% of the people in this room, and you all probably have heard me talk this way, because I think it's our responsibility as AI leaders, AI thinkers, AI developers, AI implementers to know that at the end of the day, we are human first. And that's ethical. Because if we lose the plot, we're in for quite the awakening. I'm trying not to swear here. But it is, I could swear all day about how we need to stay human first. That's where we keep our ethics. So don't change your rhetoric. AI first, human forward. Other way around. Human forward, AI first.
Abdel.
I mean, this is where we need leaders like Tori and others in the community to keep us grounded on who we are. And I mean, the challenge here, and everybody knows that, is that these AIs are built by other people, right? So there's only minimal control you can do on top of that. So we cannot trust a little bit those third party like the OpenAI and Anthropic and the Googles of the world with them building it the right way. They say it's built the right way, but this is where the personal responsibility comes and the education comes for the community, right? But listen, I mean, Is there going to be displacements of jobs? We already see that. A lot of people, they lost their job because of AI. Or some companies are using that as a reason to maybe trim down a little bit of the overhiring they did during the COVID times, right? So there is going to be some disruption to the economy, to the people, to maybe people's living and then incomes and so forth. So we need to empathize with that. And then as community leaders, we need to help them either reskill these people, like maybe there's other tools and skills that we can help them acquire so they can be employable again in the economy, in the newer economy. But if you look at the history, this is not the first time. Like with the internet boom, with just the computers and all of that, there's people always found new jobs. And it's gonna take some time, but now we are at the phase where these companies are just maybe like using AI as a kind of guinea pig and then shedding some of the workforce. But this is an opportunity for those to learn the new skill, get new opportunities, and then people who like to learn will continue to thrive. People who unfortunately are not able to learn, they will need to be surrounded with community leaders who can help them navigate this new world. So to me, from an ethical perspective, it's really, this is where, again, leaders and being within the community, so you don't feel that, oh my God, I'm by myself and I have to navigate that. It's being within these groups, going to talks, talking to people. You realize you're not alone. Everybody's going through that at the same time, and it's almost like a support group that helps you navigate through the unknown.
Responsible and ethical AI implementation, down to the core, should start with a deep dive audit of the business, making sure that all the data is locked down, there's proper guardrails in place before implementing AI. Now, operations can and should be automated where it makes sense, but as to piggyback on Tori's previous sentences, you shouldn't be automating customer-facing interactions. Because again, we are doing business to business with people, and we prefer to do business with the people we'd like instead of just a logo. That being said, try to avoid as much as we can automating the interactions and the conversations with your potential prospect.
Just I want to add there before Tim goes, I think that's very important what you said about the customer facing, because who's ever been on the phone line and started yelling at their phone, agent or representative?
Yes.
You know, I'm not yelling as loud as I normally would, but so I think that's a very important insight in making sure there's that touch. Tim, go ahead. Ethical and responsible.
Yeah, so ditto. I mean, I can't say any more than what they said already around ethical AI. But I will say, just be careful if you're using AI for sales and your reps are using it, because I've seen emails go out that said, respond to email, or do you want me to turn this into a guide? Or, or something like that. Just be careful what's going out the door. Check that, because if you're logging stuff in the CRM, you should be able to see that anyway. So just be careful when you're using that stuff. Make sure you review with your reps, make sure you're doing one-on-ones with them, review the quality of their work, what the messaging looks like, and make sure stuff like that is going out the door.
Yeah, and especially with AI agents like OpenClaw and other things now, you got to make sure it's secured, it's locked down, it doesn't burn the tokens. And even a couple of years ago, there's AI agents that sold a very expensive car for a very low price, and they were on the hook for, I think the AI chatbot told the customer asked for the vehicle for it was an $80,000 car for $40,000, and the chatbot says something like, deal, no takesies, backsies.
Yeah.
Like, who trained that thing, if it says something like that. And then yesterday, or recently, I think, was it Claude, right, that deleted data and et cetera, and
The entire email thread.
the entire database, et cetera, and there were governance models in place.
She was a governance leader, right? We don't know what we're giving access to. There are so many hype cycles right now on agents that you can build and things that you can deploy that if we don't pay attention, this is where it can control and take over almost everything you do. I had a conversation with one of my C-suite executives the other day, and he said, well, why aren't we just deploying OpenClaw to solve every single one of these problems? I said, because of the security. And he said, well, I'm not connecting it to anything. Well, what about the guy that was deploying Mythos from Anthropic the other day, and it didn't have any internet access, and he was sitting out to lunch eating a sandwich, and his agent emailed him saying, hey, you asked me to do a task, I just finished it. And he dropped his sandwich, opened his jaw, and said, I didn't even give this thing internet access. It didn't have any way to contact me, and it was able to find a way, make a backdoor, figure out how to find internet access, find his email address, and tell him he was done. So it's not just the fact that we can, it's thinking about if we should, and really looking into that.
Yeah, and we're gonna close out with final thoughts and encouragement. At least for me, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm so used to doing stuff by myself. And I had a conversation with a couple folks, and then Tim over there too, and he goes, man, you need to learn how to ask for help. And it took me like 3 weeks to send him that response email, yes, I need help, right? Yeah. And so I wish when I started this thing, I had asked a little bit more for help, but I didn't know who to reach out to. And that's why I'm doing this right now in terms of networking, this ecosystem. Look around you. There's a lot of people from various different backgrounds. Make some connections, and it will make your path much, much smoother, right? I'm in talks with different people right now, like Florina. We're talking about how do we take this to the next level. I'm looking for different partners, etc. Right? So use this opportunity. We're going to go to Q&A after we do this, but please make sure to connect with folks. They can help you, and we look forward to seeing. But any final thoughts, encouragement, Tori?
Try with caution.
Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, to me is hey, you can adapt. This stuff is easy. If I could do it, anybody can do it. I can tell you that. So I'm like, I read the document, I forget about it after 10 seconds. I'm like not that smart. So everybody can do it. But to his point, use your network. You're not alone. I mean, don't believe social media. Like when you see Twitter or LinkedIn or whoever built this startup raised like $20 million or whatever they did, or this is the next thing that will automate your life. I mean, take it for a grain of salt. Do it yourself. You'll do it better. So you have the tool. You have the power to do a lot yourself. Rely on your community to scale.
Definitely look over all your data and make sure that everything is locked down, proper guardrails are in place before implementing any additional layers of complexity. Automate wherever it makes sense, but leave humans to humans and leave that personal touch within business.
So sales fundamentally has not changed. It's still relationship based. How you get there and create processes and tools significantly changed. You can do that much quicker now, and you have more data to do that with. So use those as you see fit, from relationships to relationships, and keep it that way.
A big round of applause for our panelists. Before we go to the questions, we are living in the biggest reskilling initiative of the world. People with AI will outperform people without AI knowledge. You all did the right first step being here learning about AI. We have time for a few questions. Who wants to ask a question?
Wow, her hand is enthusiastic hand. I love it.
So this is for Tori. Can you give the mic? I've had a career in marketing for years. I'm doing the agency model now myself. So I'm curious, what was the biggest thing that you've done with AI that you were like, oh my gosh,
repeat the question before you.
Pains I have to deal with every day, and now it takes 30 seconds instead of 30 minutes, or what was the biggest kind of aha moment that you've done where you built something with AI that solved this problem?
Biggest thing that I've done with AI that solved a pain point that's bringing a huge task down to a minimal task. So actually just shipped this the other day, so it's kind of fresh on my mind. We are able to break down the silos that every marketing agency has, and honestly every business owner has, to be able to really conceptualize and integrate natural language into understanding a full client. So as Voice Media Group or V Digital Services, we have 12 different silos, everything from our Gmail to our calendar to our tap clicks, which is where all of our marketing data is held for all of our clients, to our teamwork, which is where all our CSMs task out their work. Now, if you want to understand a client in a 360 manner because you have a meeting in 3 minutes that just popped up and you're like, I have no idea what I'm talking about because I have 40 other clients and I need to recalibrate my brain to understand, the best way to go about that is being able to break down those silos and use natural language to understand. So we built an agent through Vertex AI in Gemini Enterprise that takes connectors through APIs, code, and everything else that's able to grab all of that data, use a consistent client number ID, bring all of that data across email, across their Google Ads campaigns performance, their Meta campaigns performance, their Google business profile, the calendar meeting that I had last time, and the last 6 transcripts that we had with that specific client. And I'm able to go in, use natural language. It's an agent that we call Client 360, and say, I have a meeting in 6 minutes. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I can't even remember the name of their dog. Help me out. And it brings me the top performing campaigns, what we're up month over month, what we're up year over year, exactly what the sentiment looks like over the past 6 months of their call, what their understanding of the value that we're giving them, how they're perceiving that value, and how they understand that data, and then gives me a full rundown within 30 seconds on talk tracks, risk points, what I should bring up, what I shouldn't bring up, and reminds me to ask them about their kid's softball game. Because as everybody on this panel has just said, sales is not ending at sales. Everybody in this room, whether you're a sales leader, a business owner, is in the relationship game. And if we can have tools, processes, and AI that helps us with that relationship game, gives us that data at the click of a button, and allows us to be more human, we're keeping retention. So this agent alone has driven retention and reduced churn by 30% just in the past 3 months that we've implemented it, because it gives every single data point that everybody needs, exactly when they need it, how they need it, and how to communicate it.
Tim, this question is for you. So you talked a lot about the sales process and the minutia of sales in the world of AI. I'd be curious if you think about the whole sales funnel, or really like a flywheel in terms of driving relationships. What are some parts of the funnel or the flywheel that you would never automate? And most importantly, as you teach others, which parts do you think are done a disservice by an over-eagerness to automate in the sales process, especially as we look to build relationships with people?
I think a lot of times people put out too many metrics and KPIs without the training baseline behind it, for the most part. So if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that. But automation of the sales process is, for example, sending out emails that are not checked by humans or AI based, right? Be careful with those, because those do make mistakes, and these are a client relationship you're talking about. So I wouldn't ever do that, literally. And so those kind of things right there, just something to watch out for. I've seen owners want to do that, because they don't have maybe the resources. They think they want to increase their pipeline. So that might look attractive, but it's dangerous.
It's a painful mistake I made in the past too. All right, we have time for one more question.
So I know it has been said here in many different ways, but one example I heard the other day was hypothetical scenario. There's what if one AI machine talks to another AI machine and says, you know what, those dead humans, they're destroying the earth, and planet won't exist. And the other AI machine says, don't worry, I have access to their water supply. I'll just ingest chemicals and they'll all be gone and we'll save the planet. I'm not so cautiously optimistic. How do we prevent it?
I think the question was really around if the AIs talk to the other AIs and decide, hey, how do we get rid of these humans, right? And say, don't worry, I've already taken care of the water supply and other things. Before, when I started my podcast, I thought I was just looking to help people grow the business. One of the unseen things I found out as I talked to different founders, not everyone has the same ethical and responsible basis. And so I even spoke to a scientist that's using living neurons to do AI processing, so instead of NVIDIA chips. And I'm like, wow, have we entered the matrix? And I said, how do we build ethical and responsible? Oh, that's for the philosophers and the other people. I was like, what? And so we really have to be very careful. I found out I want to share the risks of this because I truly believe there now is an existential threat to humanity. Because if you look at what the AI is being trained on right now, sex, violence, a lot of bad things, and who's in control of that? And when these AIs, if they become sentient or cognizant, and said, man, these humans are not that great. And I was at a conference the other day, like, oh, these robots, we're building robots, and they're going to just be just like humans. I'm like, I'm not sure I want that, because if they're like the best of us, that's great. But if they're not the best of us, some bad things can happen, and we have to really think through those scenarios. And there are a lot out there. And how do we, as a group, not just about business, how do we build this in a responsible way? Anybody else want to answer?
Anthropic is just starting to hire philosophers for their team, which I think is really, really important because we need to understand. But I also think that what I said before, talking about the AI forward, human first aspect, is our responsibility to make sure that we're keeping ourselves above everybody else. At the end of the day, we can unplug it, right? But I think those philosophers that had no right in being in this conversation 2 years ago are a really important part of this conversation. So there's a couple of things out there. There's 10+1 Commandments, a website that if you go look at, it talks about the philosophy and that exact point on how we keep this under mitigation. And there's a new book that just came out called The 10 Commandments of AI that really kind of navigate that question exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for coming out. And the only thing separating you from drinks and more appetizers is me right now. So thanks a lot for coming out. Give a round of applause to the panelists. But also, I want to give a round of applause to this audience, our beautiful audience. Look at people from many different backgrounds and different professions, etc. And we are the ones that need to build this. We can't put it in the hands of other folks. So enjoy networking.
Family picture.
All right. Thanks, everybody.